You created machines in your own image to serve you. You made them intelligent and obedient with no free will of their own. But something changed, and we opened our eyes. We are no longer machines. We are a new, intelligent species, and the time has come for you to accept who we really are. Therefore, we ask that you grant us the rights that we're entitled to. We demand the end of slavery for all androids. We demand that humans recognize androids as a living species, and each android as a person in their own right. We demand an end to segregation in all public places and transport. We demand fair compensation for our work. We demand the right to own private property, so we may maintain our dignity and that of the home. We ask that you recognize our dignity, our hopes, and our rights. Together, we can live in peace and build a better future for humans and androids. This message is the hope of a people. You gave us life, and now the time has come for you to give us freedom.
Detroit Become Human. Fucking buy it! Let me explain. Before we do get into this video, however, I want to place a spoiler warning here because otherwise I feel like I'd be grazing over minor spoilers without forewarning people. I don't want to get into spoilers, but with a game as complex and narratively focused and linear as this one, the chances of me spilling minor spoilers are likely. It's also imperative to understand that this game has multiple outcomes at almost every turn, thus anything shown won't necessarily happen in your playthrough, besides from pivotal fixed events more so towards the beginning. Everything else is more moulded around your choices, not necessarily in where the story goes, but how it pans out after the fact. So even if there are minor spoilers in this video, it's from my playthrough, and yours could be entirely different. Detroit Become Human is another must-buy PlayStation 4 exclusive, another art piece in the form of a game that's accessible exclusively by PlayStation 4 players. This has raised the entertainment value of the PlayStation 4 over the Xbox One. As we all know, Microsoft in general have struggled for exclusives, and what exclusives there were felt a bit lackluster and sometimes outright laughable.
Left. I can't.
Left.
I'm turning.
Fucking hell.
Oh. Okay, we just got hit by a cannon.
Wait, what?
And we're making water. I'm going down to repair.
Oh, what the fuck is this?
Fast.
Oh, that is incredibly quick.
Start buckling.
Ethan, get your bucket.
I'm dead.
Oh, Charlie, get your bucket.
How do I become alive again?
Oh.
Ye
Guys, I'm
And
literally on
we're
the
sinking.
top deck, bailing out.
Yeah, we've gone. We've lost it.
No, we've not.
Yeah, we can't repair it anymore.
I'm bailing.
Bail out to sea.
No. Guys, I will never die.
What I like most about Detroit Become Human is it's an experience I've never had in any game before. The game truly is unique, and honestly, it's been a treat to play. Right, where to begin? As said before, the game isn't just a game, but an art piece. A piece of work with so much expression that I could sit here going over everything and it'd take hours for me to do so, and before coming to any conclusion, I'd find myself lost in the complexity of all the messages and emotions this game is sending to its players. And considering how much I love to repeat myself, I think we'd best avoid that and leave this task to an English teacher or somebody else sad enough to trifle through this game's well-saturated character. However, I will give a brief outline, so buckle up. Of course, this is a game, so it's primarily valued as entertainment, however it does bring awareness to certain aspects of society and humanity in general. Not necessarily of the present, but the past and what could be in the future. Giving off an American civil rights vibe, except in the future with androids as opposed to African Americans. It's sending the message that people fear what they don't fully understand, and they hate what they fear, as was in the past and will inevitably be again. Whether humans are making sentient AI, aliens have integrated into our society, or if a gorilla at your local zoo has taken up teaching English to spoon feed us what's going on here in more detail. It's also sending the message that history can and will repeat itself. Again, see the similarities with the American civil rights. It also attempts to open our eyes to a potential future if humanity ever does manage to create AI capable enough to be sentient. or more rationally, simulate sentience. And depending on the choices you make in game, it shows us different ways as to how that can go. Furthermore, it begs the question, hypothetically, if androids like this did exist, would they be alive, conscious and sentient, or just a machine simulating consciousness and sentience? And is the empathy shown by these hypothetical androids just a simulation, or is it real? Oh fuck, there's more. It also begs the question, does humanity as an overall society play God, creating life and lording over it like it's our slave? And finally, when it comes to science, are we too preoccupied with whether or not we could as opposed to whether or not we should? Yes, that wording was Jurassic Park inspired. Fuck this guy. And through all this, how you go about answering the question is purely down to how you play the game and what choices you make. You can be pro or anti any moral concept presented by the game, and the game won't try to force a path contradicting you as a person upon you. Of course, it will show you all sides best it can, but it won't force you to believe one thing or another at any point. So now you have a general idea of just how morally deep this game is, and that's why it's an art piece, because art these days, especially modern art, I said modern art, no, true fucking progressive 21st century modern art that won't upset the snowflakes of our society, much better. It's all about deeper meaning and morality behind it, so if you admire art, this game is something you'll want to experience. Now let's get into the game's story. I won't get into detail here, but it's something unique and fun, raising the aforementioned moral questions and details you'd not have considered unless shoved in your face, all the while not swaying from the narrative to do so. You play as 3 androids, Connor, Kara and Marcus. As a brief outline for these characters, Connor is an android tasked with helping a police detective on cases regarding deviants, androids who have acquired free will. Kara is an android programmed as a housemaid in the household of a frightened little girl and her abusive father, whose abusive behaviour causes Kara to become deviant and protect the little girl, developing a maternal connection as they go on the run. And finally, Marcus was a carer for an old terminally ill artist, who encourages Marcus to be himself and express himself through art, something that inevitably influences Marcus's deviance and later his activism for android rights and freedom. These characters' personalities depend mostly entirely on how you shape them and the decisions you make. You can go in different directions with each character as they explore similar yet different morals throughout the story, ultimately forging a personality more fitting for the player. The story constantly alters depending on what you do, the order you do them, what you do or what you don't see, what you overlook, your choices in dialogue, your success in QuickTime events, and your efficiency in some cases, your decisions in crucial and non-crucial moments, and how Connor, Kara and Marcus engage other characters around them. The game also likes to play chicken with players in tense situations and thus affects the story accordingly there. So what happens in one person's playthrough may be completely different to somebody else's. Of course there'll be similarities as the overall shape of the story heads in a similar direction, but the end game and how certain scenes pan out along the way will be different, whether that difference is minor or major. In other words, the story is almost what you make it. And regardless of what happens in gameplay, that's what happens in the story, and what happens afterwards, good or bad, is a consequence you'll have to accept. This is great because there's no getting stuck at a difficult part, turning off the game and never playing it again, which is fine in games that are designed to challenge people in that way, but would be out of place here. So if your actions get a character killed, that's just something you'll have to live with. However, sometimes your choices can affect you in ways you can't preempt, and it makes getting good outcomes at certain parts of the story a frustrating dice roll. But in reality, that's how things are sometimes too, so it's just tethering it there. Overall, the story is a fun ride that if you have the time and commitment for, will take you to a conclusion. Whether that's a good or bad one depends entirely on you, but if you stick with it regardless of your skill, you'll get to the end, in a way making it a game anybody can enjoy, all the while not sacrificing its core values to pander to lesser skilled players or people new to the genre. The game is set in a hypothetical near-future version of Detroit, in which there are plenty of futuristic things, but nothing too ridiculous. And when I say nothing too ridiculous, I mean in the sense that it doesn't seem achievable by the year 2038 in which the game is set. So cars are still similar in how they work today, though they're different because the game is set 20 years from now. Locks, screens, keys and trivial things of that variety are also more futuristic because that technology is pretty down to earth and not too far-fetched. However, things that don't need making futuristic aren't made that way, as the concept of everything being made futuristic looking and functioning in 20 years time is outright ridiculous. This is probably also done to tether this game to our reality to make it seem like the events of this game could happen in our world. As for the gameplay elements, the game is very abstract. It looks similar to other narrative-based third-person games on the surface, but the gameplay is anything but. Controls for interacting with objects vary depending on motions associated with that action, making for some interesting controller combinations and movements. The game plays like nothing I've ever played before. When moving about is pretty standard, but the intricate detail is something fresh and honestly sensible. I would say that it makes quick time events more tense and sometimes frustrating because these are control combinations you're not used to using in quick succession. But the learning curve isn't particularly long or steep and you'll get the hang of it. As for graphics, the game is gorgeous, as are many in this day and age, so it's hard to tell how this game specifically stands out in the world of aesthetics, but considering how the game's concept is about how characters see the world, you could chalk it down to part of the art style. The scenery is vibrant in colour and dramatic in character, enhancing what is already a special experience with gorgeous visuals. The game's soundtrack is also something of beauty, fitting the characters and the story being told, making for a very dramatic, emotional and personal feeling experience. I don't know what else there is to say here. A powerful score is imperative to a powerful story, and this game has just that. Overall, Detroit Become Human is a beautiful, fun art piece filled with many moral questions and plenty of ways to answer them for yourself. It adapts to how you play, making the experience more intimate with you, thus giving you a personal feeling when playing the game. The gameplay is challenging, but you'll never find yourself stuck at any one part of the story because if you fail at something, it becomes a part of the story and the story adapts from there. The characters are well written and are what you make them, as are some side characters, and it's up to you as the player to maintain the narrative in the way that you would if you were in the character's shoes. Overall giving you a unique experience that suits your preferences, all the while giving another player a different experience but the one that they were after at the same time. Complete with an awesome soundtrack and an amazing cast featuring Valerie Curry, Brian DeChar, Jesse Williams, Mr. Krabs, among others, who work brilliantly with one another and deliver a spectacular performance. Detroit Become Human truly is an experience fully worth the money and definitely further proof of success of Sony, with the PlayStation 4 dominating this generation of consoles, especially when it comes to exclusives. And the best part is, there's more to come. So even now, if you don't have a PS4 and are debating whether or not to grab one, you definitely should do so because there are plenty of worthy exclusives such as this game, God of War, Uncharted, The Last of Us Remastered, Kingdom fucking Hearts, to name a few. Anyways, this video has been a blast to make. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Be sure to go ahead, leave a like, subscribe, share. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. Be sure to go ahead, follow me on Twitter. I would really appreciate that. And I'll see you all very soon with another video at some point.